because it's 10:01. And we're just waiting for Richard to have our full complement. Hi, Sarah. There's Gary, Sharon.
Elaine,
Yes.
can I ask a quick question? I filled out my form for the Affordable Housing Trust. Do you know, can I go into town hall and give it to Courtney, or do I have to? I don't have a phone number for her, so
Can you scan it and send it to her, or?
uh,
You could drop it in the box outside town hall and let her know you put it in.
okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
And how would I let her know? Do you have a number for her?
Yeah, it's 349-0300.
Oh, okay.
Sharon. You
Hello.
can do it. Hi, Sharon, you can do it right online.
Fill out that form?
Yeah, you don't have to download it or take it in. When you open it, you hit the little arrow to go to download it, and you can fill it in online, save it, and send it to her.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll try that.
Yeah, I did it yesterday. It was fine.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I figured it out too. I was very proud of myself.
I don't know. I might need more hand holding.
Yay.
If you have questions, call.
Richard, are you here? I know Richard's in, but
He may be muted. He's muted.
hey, Richard. Good morning.
Fine.
Yay. Okay, great. All right. Sarah, are you back in? Okay. Okay, Sarah, are you with us?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
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 Okay, good. Can you see me?
No.
No.
I'm on my, my computer was having issues, so I'm on my phone,
Okay.
but I'm here and I can
Okay.
see you.
Okay, well, that's great. As long as we know you're there, we will call the meeting to order. And wonderful to have everybody here. First on the agenda, the minutes of November 5th as perfectly presented by Richard. I can share them if we want to take a quick look. Okay, it's the minutes of November 5th. Take a quick look. Are there any additions or corrections?
The only thing, Richard, that you got wrong was my name, which
Oh.
is very hurtful.
Where? Up,
My last name is Baumgarten, which you always get right, but it became Baumgartner in your
Well, thank you.
minutes.
wait, Mia, help me. What do I have?
Baumgartner.
First line, Richard.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is there a motion to approve the minutes as corrected?
I move to approve the minutes as corrected.
Second? All in favor? Like, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Great, thank you. Next on, now I'm gonna, okay, stop screen sharing. Let's see. Wait a minute. No. Okay. Next on the agenda are bills. Bills and rental assistance all kind of always go together in a way.
Okay. Why don't we do the bills first, then we'll do the rental assistance. We have a bill from the Homeless Prevention Council for $6,000. That's $5,000 for the administration of the rental assistance program. That's a yearly amount, and $1,000 for the startup of the COVID emergency assistance. Do I hear a motion?
I move it.
Thank you, Richard.
Is there a second?
Second.
Sarah?
Mm-hmm.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Thank you.
The second one is for the CDP this is actually one that got lost in the shuffle. It's for August, excuse me, August technical assistance for $1,350.
What's the amount, Gary? 13?
1350. I'm sorry. I'm a little hoarse.
I would move, we pay CDP $1,350 for technical assistance for the month of August.
So moved.
Okay,
You're seconding, Richard.
that was a second, Richard, okay?
Okay.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor? Biff, you gonna vote?
That's what-
Great,
Elaine,
yes.
did you find the bill for Peter Freeman?
Yeah, I sent you a photograph of it. It's very hard to read. It,
Do you want to
Let me
wait or?
no, it's a very small amount. We should probably pay it.
I haven't seen, I didn't see it yet.
I'll just tell you how much it is. Let me find it.
We're doing Secret Santa with those guys, and I agree with the team for that also. So I've done a lot of shopping, but I'll definitely think
Okay,
about whatever.
it's, I move that we pay Peter Freeman $73.75 for legal assistance.
I second.
Second. Yeah.
Okay. It has to do with the Freeman Avenue. Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, unanimous.
Okay, now we have rental assistance. The rental assistance had not changed from our previous vote last month, that I have it as $1,997.
This would be for
Right before any,
Jan-
yeah.
for January.
This would be for January.
January.
Mhm.
Is there a motion to pay $1,997 for the January rental assistance?
I
So
move
moved.
that we pay.
Second,
Sure.
Sarah,
Mhm.
opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great.
Elaine, you have one more.
Okay, actually, we're going to move down to emergency rental assistance now. Maggie has been working with a client. Originally thought it would be best to start with the regular rental, but the situation actually would be more beneficial if we went with our emergency program for this person who, due to COVID and a cancer diagnosis, is unemployed and has also lost her unemployment, which both Sarah Peak and Julian Sear are working on reinstating. But the recommendation for HPC for use of our emergency rental assistance for this client would be to pay the full rent of $1,300 for 4 months. which would bring it in under the 6,000, which is the maximum we had said we would provide under this program. So that's what I'm bringing to you today.
I second the motion.
Yep.
Can you share that it's for a family, not an individual? Elaine?
It's for a single mom with 2 teenage sons.
Gosh.
Is the housing adequate or is she also looking for better housing?
No, the housing is adequate. And,
Okay, good.
you know, the rent of $1,300 is not excessive and it's not great. And her, you know, her income from 2019 before COVID and her diagnosis, she was able, you know, I mean, it was tight, but,
Yeah.
you know, if all had been going that way, she could have been a candidate for the regular rental and may still be at the end of if her unemployment isn't reinstated. But so it moved and seconded.
Yes.
Wait,
Mhm.
I just want to clarify. So HPC understands that they will pay this and then they will bill us. So we're just approving the payment by
Right.
HPC. Subsequently, we'll have to approve the reimbursement to HPC.
Correct, right. That's the kind of the beauty of the emergency program to
Right.
make it available more quickly.
Right.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you so much.
Elaine,
Yes.
you and I will have to just figure out the proper way to identify this payment for the minutes without, you know, divulging the client, but we can do that. I don't have, you know, we usually do it
That's
by
right.
the,
Have a landlord.
by the landlord, but I don't have that in front of me, so we'll, okay.
Well, maybe we should make this client number 1 for emergency rental assistance.
For the moment, we'll do that.
Okay, next on the agenda is the buy down and the subsidy. We've set up 2 information sessions for the buy down, which will happen in January. There'll be virtual info sessions on Monday, January 11th at 7 and Saturday, January 3rd at 10. We will be getting information out about that. We were hoping that Ann Robinson from CDP could join us this morning to talk about more of, as she puts the application package together and updates figures, but she had a conflict this morning, so couldn't make it. Gary, do you want to say anything more about the buy down at this point?
No, the piece of information we're really waiting on is what is the maximum price that we can use under DHCD guidelines. And Ann was trying to determine that. And I think that's going to be a critical piece.
Right.
Elaine, could you give me those dates again? Was that the 10th and 11th of January?
Now, the Monday, January 11th at 7 p.m.
Okay,
and Saturday, January 23rd at 10 a.m.
thank you.
We were hoping to have some kind of a flyer that we can distribute it, if not in person, in person, then electronically. But Sarah,
Yes.
can we send it to the real estate network or whatever the group is?
Yep.
The distribution list?
Yep. If you get it to me, I can forward it to all of the brokers that are joined in the Wellfleet, whatever. Yes.
Okay. Any market news you want to share?
I mean, me-
Go ahead.
there's nothing on the market right now, just period, so hopefully in the new year, we'll see things and hopefully we'll have some affordable inventory. Right now, we just don't, there's nothing, So we should all hope that things shift a little, I would say.
Right.
Are there any condos for sale that are at a reasonable price?
There really aren't. I mean, there's an apartment on Eric's Way, I think, that's on the market, and that would be it. And I can pull it up and email it to everybody. I think it's in the twos, but I think that would be the only thing that I can think of that's on the market right now. I mean, normally we have about, I don't know, between 50 and 75 homes on the market. And right now I think we have about, I don't know, 25, period. That's in every price range. So it's
And-
a very different time.
For a single family house, Sarah, what's the low point?
Ooh, I don't think there's anything on the market. I can pull it up right now while I talk to you, but I don't think there is a single family on the market right now under maybe even 500, except for one in the center of town that I think is a tear down. That was 399 and I think just came down to 350, but it's not, I mean, it's just not, so, but that's not, I would say to buffer that, that's not indicative of values. You know what I mean? We should have things. It's just, there's no inventory, you know what I mean? So, but if we were looking for a buy down right now, we wouldn't have really anything to show people right now,
Mhm. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to find out under the new year what the highest prices will be for the buy down, and
Mhm.
maybe.
But it points up that there's sort of a catch-22. People can only afford X amount for their mortgage if they're in our 80% of median income or below, plus the 175 doesn't add up to, a big number.
Well, I mean, hopefully we will see things come on the market in the fours. I would hope that we do, you know what I mean? I hope that things shift. But I don't know. I can keep everybody posted, I guess is what I would say. And I'll pull up right now and see if I'm giving correct information
That's all.
too.
Yeah, I think I saw one listing
Mhm.
today or the day before that was in the fours, but
There have been things. I mean, and we can go on. I'll just pull this up and email everybody. If I have something hopeful, I'll send it right around. How's that?
okay.
But again, I hope just temporary, range year.
Next on the agenda is the Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. And I wanted to just bring people up to date with what's going on. I think at our last meeting, did we already have Michael DeVasto appointed as the select board member on the trust? Okay,
Thanks.
right. And Michael asked for, it's a 5 to 7 member board that we're starting with. We'd like to start with 7. Michael asked for names. They definitely want people from housing involved. And I would like to serve on behalf of the Housing Authority. Gary would like to serve on behalf of the Local Housing Partnership. Sharon would like to serve on behalf of the Local Housing Partnership. And because Gary and I are both on the Housing Authority, that means we can't have another member from the Housing Authority because that would be a quorum of our group. So ideally, we'd love to have that, but that doesn't work. So I hope people are comfortable with Gary and I putting ourselves forward and Sharon as members from the housing community. The other people that we've approached that are willing to serve are Harry Turkanian, which could be a huge help getting started, and Kathleen Nagel from Habitat, and also as a realtor. We are still looking for a 7th name. These names will be put forward at the Tuesday night selectmen's meeting. The work of the trust to begin with is going to be basically to meet with us, with the Housing Authority and the Local Housing Partnership, and hammer out the roles and responsibilities based on what we've been doing and what powers the trust can have. That'll be a big part of it. And also to write a bylaw, which will have to go before town meeting in the spring. It looks like in retrospect, we actually should have voted the law and a bylaw at the fall town meeting, but we didn't get that recommendation to do it that way from town council. So it'll take a little longer, but because we voted the statute, it's legal to form the trust and get started. So any thoughts on that from anybody?
Yeah. Elaine and I were chatting and we were saying, are there any younger people in town who might be wanting to serve? And we didn't come up with a candidate, but is there anybody that comes to mind?
There are people who come to mind. There just isn't anybody who comes as usual. There's nobody who comes to mind who has the time,
Yeah.
especially now.
And I think this initially will take some time it'll be
Yeah.
less time intensive as it goes along, but initially in the setup phase.
If you want to send, maybe ask Ryan Curley if he knows of anybody. I think he's a little bit older than me, but not that much older. And he may have some people in his peer group who, everyone I know is working like 3 jobs as usual.
Right.
And
Yeah.
he might have some people who are a little more established and who have a little more time, some more fit. I don't really have like, working parents types in my friend group. So you might want to ask him.
Okay.
Yeah,
But I'll keep thinking. Everyone I sort of looked at is just not able to do it right now.
yeah, I think this initial period will involve a little more work of, setting things up. But in general, it's a 1 or 2 year appointment. So it can be that, in the near future, we can, really build that and find some other young people to kind of help.
They're definitely here, young people who want to help. It's just always a question of how much
Right.
time they have. We have such an influx of new residents. I really am curious to know how many of them are in that age group. I think a number of them are.
Mhm.
And, I think we'd want someone who is longer standing in the community to serve on this, but at the same time, I'm curious to know like how the job market around here is going to shift with this influx of younger people and people of young middle age. And so
Right.
we'll see.
Well, we're so fortunate to have you involved with us and appreciate it. It's just a great way to spread the word.
Anybody else with a suggestion of somebody from the community? No.
Okay, well, we'll keep building on it, but we need to sort of get the foundation of it set up, and that will be interesting. So I'm sure we'll be meeting all together around that, probably sooner than later, because Harry feels that if there's the bylaw should really be done in a very open process, and even expanding it beyond our groups and to get it to the town by February for a town meeting. So. Okay, great.
Actually, Elaine, I have a suggestion.
Yeah,
Why not contact either Alfred Picard or David Rowell from the planning board for that committee?
mhm. Okay, what's your? Okay, alrighty, thank you. That segues perfectly into the AADU discussion. Sharon, are you still with us?
I am. I pushed some wrong buttons, so I you can't see me, but I'm here.
Yeah, I don't think I can make us, I don't think there's anything I can do to.
Well,
make us-
I could probably join again, but I don't know what that would do. So
yeah, well,
anyway, doesn't really matter.
okay. I don't know, would you like to, Sharon and Gary and I were all at the planning board meeting last night where we spent an hour and a half with them. concentrating mostly on the ADU. I think there's pretty general agreement that we think the AADU is important. We want to keep supporting that, but our point of view is we would also like to see an ADU bylaw. So Sharon, take it away.
Well, I have to admit to finding it a little bit disheartening. You know, because they went around the room and around the board and everybody had, you know, they brought up a lot of things that are kind of not really in our control. And so the biggest concerns that the planning board have are septic systems. Although this is, you know, ADU was designed as a wastewater neutral way of increasing housing, they don't seem to see it that way. And so that, and Dave Rao is, you know, is, yeah, and probably, you know, he knows, because I know he's a building inspector, but, you know, is convinced that a lot of the septic systems are not doing what they need to be doing already. And so to add an ADU would be problematic. So that piece, the wastewater piece, was a big piece. And the other piece that was really, I think, the biggest stumbling block is enforcement of existing codes and bylaws. So that, you know, everybody knows, it's kind of like a well-known secret that there are many illegal apartments around town, some of which are rented seasonally or short-term, and some of which are rented year-round, and which, because they're illegal, they haven't been inspected. And so many may, in fact, be not safe. But according to the planning board, the town has taken kind of a don't ask, don't tell approach, because they're concerned that if they probe too deeply, they will be kicking people out of living situations, year-round living situations that they have in place. And that may be true, but so that's kind of this question of like, how do we get the town to enforce all the rules so that we can add in some new managed ADUs? That felt like a big hurdle to me. That in the very end, after the hour and a half, I think it was more than an hour and a half, Elena. It was exhausting. And Jerry finally sort of came around to this point where, well, you can tweak the bylaw. He pointed out a couple of things that were particularly problematic for him. Okay, I get it. And they'll look it over again. Now it's the December 16th. And, maybe they could get to a point where they'd be willing to put it in front of the select board for town meeting without approving it. And then it would be sort of up to us to get it through town meeting, which of course we can do anyway by what is it, a special warrant or
Petitioned article.
Yeah. So we could do that. Our feeling in the past has been, we don't want to do that. We'd like to work with the planning board as opposed to against them. And so that's kind of where we are. And another big stumbling block, Elaine, that I found quite confusing was this amnesty piece.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why that's a problem, because in the way it's written, I looked it over again this morning, and the way it's written is really, the intention is to bring an existing illegal ADU up to code. I mean, it has to be inspected. It has to be brought up to code and then become part of the, sort of managed ADU set list. And so I don't understand why there's such objection to that.
I'm not sure either, but I think their objection might have been, well, then these people can come forward. And then if they've been renting affordably, they could start renting for more money by having an ADU. I think-
Well, what, I mean, yeah, I don't know why they would be renting affordably now. I don't
Well,
know.
it's just that the ADU wouldn't have the income restriction. So if they wanted to, they could try to rent for more money. I think that's their concern. Valid, but you know,
It doesn't move us forward.
right, yeah. But, you know, and so, I mean, I think it was interesting that Jerry came around to saying maybe this deserves to go before the public.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
And that he also was the one who brought forward, you know, if we don't go, if the planning board doesn't go for this, you can do a petitioned article. So
He has said that at every meeting.
we put that on the table. I've just been wondering, when the planning board is working on something, do they ever hold like a public meeting?
Or they would have to.
But I mean, before they even put the bylaw forward to gear, I think there's a lot of interest. They don't seem to think so.
Do you mean a public hearing or just a meeting that's open to public comment?
Well, I
'Cause I
think
think
a public hearing would have to be in response to a bylaw, I think.
Right, because
I
I
mean-
think anyone can go to the meeting now and make public comment, I
Right,
think.
Right.
You can.
So,
Yeah.
They don't give a lot of bandwidth for public comment.
sure,
Yeah.
They pretty much fill up the space available.
that's what I
So-
thought.
Oh, so
I
my
mean-
name is Emily Schatzo, and you can't see me, but I joined this meeting because I wanted information about 95 Lawrence Road. And I don't know if this is that discussion or not.
Hi, Emily. I was going to welcome you for our next agenda item is
Oh,
about 95 Lawrence. What we're talking about right now is encouraging the town to have a bylaw to allow people to build an accessory apartment, you know, often called in-law apartments or something like that, to try to expand some of the rental housing stock in town.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. You know, happy to have you at our next agenda item. But you're welcome to ask questions on anything you're hearing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Karen, can I ask you one quick question?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Did they make any mention of grandfathering in the existing apartments to kind of bypass the whole question of whether people will be kicked out? Did that get brought up as, okay, well, we can move forward if we grandfather in everybody who's already there? Did that get
I
suggested?
think that comes under the amnesty piece. Would you
Amnesty.
not agree, Elaine?
That's true,
Yeah,
right?
but I'm not sure they would want to grandfather anything that might be an unsafe condition to actually legally sanction it. I don't know. Is that what grandfathering would do?
Well, that's what they're de facto doing now. If they're saying we're not going to check and so we can keep people in there, they're just doing it
Right.
without writing it down.
I mean, this is a big, important topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and
What were the objections about septic? Don't seem to make sense because the way that it's written, you need to actually have the allowable bedrooms on your Title V septic and you have to be compliant, correct?
There's a
Right.
couple of things. I think, according to Dave Rao, and I'm not a septic person, I don't know this, but I guess he regularly, it's part of his building inspector kind of job. That a lot of the septic systems were built with variances. And so they don't really function the way they were really designed to because so many variances have been allowed. And I don't know anything about that. The other thing that Dave Rao has said over the years, I mean, this is not a new thing, although he just brought it up again last night and he hadn't in a while, was that according to him, and I have not been able to get any verification of this from either Truro or Wellfleet health departments, the Title V legislation states that if you put a second housing unit on the site, you need to have a second tank installed in your septic system.
Hmm.
And so whenever it, so he sort of brings that up from time to time. Now, if that in fact is the law, it's clearly not being enforced.
No, I mean, I've
And-
seen,
Yeah,
I was just gonna say, I've seen both in my travels, you know what I mean? I've seen things where there's two separate septic tanks and maybe one leach field for two legal units. And certainly there's places all over town where there's shared systems for different units. And I mean, I would think even if there are people that have been granted variances, the variances are granted because the town determines that the system will function the way it was designed to, so if you have a 4-bedroom system, you should be okay for 4 bedrooms. No one's suggesting you're allowed to have 6, you know what I mean, right?
yeah. Well, the other question I have is this really, within the jurisdiction of the planning board?
Mhm.
Or is it a health department issue?
No,
Isn't it a Board of Water and Sewer issue?
Septic is usually Board of Health, but
Board of Health, okay.
2-family, 1-family changing zoning, I mean, I don't know. It's like everybody, I guess. I don't know.
The other thing was that somehow they brought up that, years ago, they decided that we were not going to allow duplexes and that this is really allowing duplexes. And Dave Rao sort of said, well, we have 4,000 houses and pretty soon we're going to have 8,000.
Oh,
And that hasn't been the record in other towns.
I love his imagination. I think it's spectacular.
Yes. He's a creative thinker, that's for sure.
Yes.
So at this point,
well,
the thing is that Sharon, and I'm sorry, they were saying I co-authored with you and you did all the work, but I didn't want to.
Believe me. Okay, and I'm happy to share the blame.
Okay, I should have put it that way. So we're supposed to bring a tweaked version back to them in 2 weeks. I'm happy to work on that with you, Sharon. Maybe look at the towns that are doing it successfully. And I mean, put forward, we have been cautioned that if it's too onerous, nobody will do it. And
Right.
that seems to be, if there's a bylaw, that might be the one that would come out of the planning board, but.
Yeah, I think one of the problems is that none of the towns around us, I mean, they've all changed their bylaw, but only in the last few years.
Right.
And so it really doesn't speak to long-term compliance. So that's one piece. And then even if you did say that Brewster was, successfully increasing their year-round housing stock and it's really working well and all that kind of stuff, then the next argument is, but Wellfleet's different.
Yeah. Because we
So-
have
and-
8,000 duplexes.
So, it's sort of it's hard to imagine how you win in that, but, we'll keep plodding ahead. And Jerry did say a couple of things that made sense, like, the bylaw, as I took it from the pre-existing, the AADU bylaw, said that you could put an accessory dwelling unit in a non-conforming structure. And his point was, no, we're not going to do anything that increases the non-conforming nature of the
Right.
of property, whereas we do with AADUs. And so that's fine. I can live with that change. That doesn't bother me at all. I think it was that and the amnesty that were like,
that
the big
those are
troublemaker.
the two that Jerry had a problem with. Yeah.
yeah.
And basically suggested we tweak those parts.
I don't think the whole thing needs to be rewritten though.
No.
Sharon, can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
Without ascribing motive, do you think that they're telling us in not so many words that they would prefer if we just took it to town and didn't continue to pursue it with them? Do you think that that's the,
You know,
The
I had that thought. I think that's a great question.
I don't want to waste their time, and we shouldn't continue to waste ours if it's not going to get us any farther. And it sort of sounds like they would like to put the responsibility to some degree on the town, on town meeting in particular, which is fine. And if they would prefer that we do that and circle back with them after, maybe we should be focusing our energy on that. But I didn't attend the meeting, so I'm asking if you think that that's a valid conclusion to draw.
I think it possibly is. I would like to take it one more round. You know, with Elaine's help tweaking it. And see. What do you think, Elaine?
Yeah, I think we're committed to that. And then after that, maybe we make our decision. I mean, Jerry said it, if they do agree, I mean, you know, they have 3 members that are pretty solidly interested in seeing this advanced and you know, properly. And then is it 4 that are more, 3 or 4 that are either on the fence or pretty negative? But Jerry did say that, you know, if they agreed to take a bylaw to town meeting, even if they didn't support it themselves, they would want it to be a bylaw with all the I's dotted and T's crossed, so that what they put forward to the town was at least a solid bylaw, whether they approved it or not. So, you know, I mean, for us, we are not bylaw experts. So we have presented, you know, we can present another version of what we think, but I think it's really their job then to
Hold on just a sec. Yeah, hi.
make it into a you know, a real bylaw, a legal, you know, vetted bylaw. So
Elaine, it's Kathleen. I just want to agree with Mia. I think that's a very good point to make. The planning board has been dealing with this topic for a number of years now, and they always keep going back to the same issues: septic, setback, increase in density, creating duplexes, so on and so forth. So in their defense, the skepticism from the other 4 individuals are inherent in Board of Health, ZBA, in other issues. It's just not that straightforward, or it's just not that easy. Jerry's suggesting that, you know, tweak it, craft it, take it before town meeting. You know, if it flies, we'll find some way to make this work. But in their defense, they have been dealing with this topic for a number of years. We have some new blood on the planning board who are very keen on seeing this go forward. Unfortunately, from the side of the fence that I've been on, it's just not that easy with regard to Board of Health. You know, the state has, and we're dealing with this with 95 Lawrence Road. The state has a mandate that we reduce our nitrogen load, enormously reduce our nitrogen load. For Wellfleet, we're like at ground zero. I mean, we have gone nowhere with reducing nitrogen. And I think this is something the planning board is thinking with regard to septic. While you say it's a Board of Health issue, they are the planning board, so they're looking at a greater picture here. But it may be that you go back to them one more time with a draft proposal and they still don't feel great about it, but you could always go with a petitioned article at town meeting.
Here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right, that we tweak it, we take it again. If they choose not to take it on, to work on it to their satisfaction, we say we are happy to advance it on our own, because that way we could hold a public forum. I don't want to do that until the planning board either, steps back. We wouldn't want to put that forward without having kind of a final verdict from them one way or the other, so.
That
I
all
agree
sounds
with
good.
Kathleen.
Okay. Thank you.
So Elaine, I appreciate your offer of getting together and I accept.
Okay, very good.
We'll
Yeah,
work.
let's just take a real good look at that one again, and maybe Brewster's or East Hams, to see if there are any more pieces that would make them feel more secure and be overall for the health of our town for the best. There's a sweet article in the Provincetown Independent today about four of our young women who grew up here in Wellfleet and scattered, but came back together due to COVID in Boston, living together. And they all said, we wish we could come back to the Cape, but we can't afford to live there. So these are our ADU candidates.
You betcha.
We're
not lacking for candidates, that's for sure.
Right. Okay. All right. Next on our agenda is 95 Lawrence Road, a basic update. I noticed Emily is here and she said hello. Emily, you're in a butter, correct?
Yes, I am.
Right.
I am.
I can give a very quick sort of update of where things are, and then happy to entertain some questions you might have.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, right now, with 95 Lawrence Road, we are anticipating issuing the request for proposal to a developer sometime in the next couple of months. Once that is done, it will take several months to get a response and to potentially select a developer. And then at that point, it'll be almost another year until there's an actual design and project that will be taken before the Zoning Board of Appeals. In the meantime, the town did get a $2.5 million grant to help bring adequate water to the site. And the town is also looking into a wastewater treatment system for the area that would actually reduce the nitrogen that would be going into the area there, including the Duck Creek watershed. That would involve a system for the development, and then a potential future system for the municipal buildings in the area, and potentially an ability for abutters to connect to. We're waiting for response from the engineer that studied this issue for how we want to address that in the request for proposal. So I think that's about what I can say about where we are now. And I know, Emily, I know that one of our housing consultants, Belinda, has been in touch with you, and I tried to contact you, but I had the wrong email. So I'm not sure that you got it, but I do have the right one now. But, I think this would be a great opportunity for you to, express any questions you have.
Okay, well, my request has been pretty simple, and it's not clear why I can't get what I've been asking for, which is simply the design and where this would sit on the property. Because one piece of information I got was that you were talking about 6 acres of development, and I believe there's 8 or 9 acres. So I don't know and haven't been able to find out where that is in relationship to my property. And that's, I've just asked for a map so I could see that.
Mhm.
If I have, adequate, trees behind my house, I'm in, my full-time residence is in Cambridge, and I'm always fighting for affordable housing here. So I'm not going to be what we call a NIMBY, and want to oppose this, but I do want to know where it is in relationship to my land.
Sure. That was when I sent you an email to the email address that obviously didn't get to you. I did ask if you'd like me to send you the map that we have. Right now, you are right. The whole parcel is 9 acres. We have been, the town meeting voted to allow 6 of those acres to be set aside for the housing. That basically takes out the water tower and the baseball field. So we're working around that. I do have a map that sort of delineates the 6 acres. There won't be a design until a developer comes on board. So a design that can be looked at that will go before the ZBA is at least a year and a half, or even
But
2
you're saying
away.
that it could go right up to my property because the ball field and the water tower are already,
Right.
going
Well,
on.
why don't I get that map to you? And then we can talk. You can, I can follow up with you.
Oh, that would be great, Elaine.
Okay. So I think I got the correct email from Linda.
My other concern is quite a bit more serious. I was never notified about the water tower. At the time, after it was built, I was I was in a butter, but the way my house is designed, it wasn't a big intrusion. But when they started to sand it in order to paint it,
Mhm.
I had a friend who was staying with me, who was a medical expert, and she said, Emily, this is going to kill you. The amount of debris that was coming onto my house was outrageous. I don't remember, there was somebody, a neighbor who was involved with the town. I'm not exactly, my contact with the town was, but I have a cousin who worked for the federal EPA, and he said, you have to get the EPA involved. And I did. And I also had one of the workers come over to ask him, is this what happens when you work? And he was a lovely man, and he said, absolutely not. We're not supposed to work like this. Our building is supposed to be covered.
Mm.
They just don't want to spend the money.
Well, it
So-
sounds like we would have the same concerns about that if
Oh, you
housing
betcha.
were too.
I'm at this moment 74 years old. I have COPD. So if this is going anywhere near my property, I would have to move. If people are going to be building in the manner, I mean, the EPA did come and make them cover it.
Mhm.
And once they covered it, which is what they were supposed to do in the first place, they said the town just wanted to save money, is what he imagined, because it is what was normally done. That was really concerning to me. And, I never did anything about it. Once the problem was solved, once they covered it in the manner they were supposed to, it wasn't, in my lungs anymore.
Mhm.
But that was, and I still don't know to this day why I wasn't notified as an abutter. And I still haven't been notified about this. So I don't know what that process is. I found out from a handyman who does work for me
I think,
about this project.
right. I think, I'm sorry, go ahead. I just want to say, I think the legal process would be that you would probably be notified before it goes before the zoning board of appeals, when it comes to that point. I mean, we did hold a public forum back in January and there has been news about it, but the official notice to abutters would come when the project goes before the zoning board of appeals, which is, a year and a half or two away. But, it is important because we had our public meeting almost a year ago now, and there's been news in the paper because of the grant and things like that. But I can understand that almost a year's gone by with, why people would be interested in knowing what's going on. So we'll be issuing an annual report soon that will update people, but let me get that map to you and we can follow up.
So Elaine, once you get the map to me,
Mhm.
if I have questions, can I address, can we communicate? Are you the right person for me
Sure.
to be in touch with?
Yes, we can.
Linda,
I mean, it's a town project, but the task force is leading the charge right now, and I'm the chair of the task force, so.
okay, well, I hope that this can work out,
Mhm.
for all of us. And, I would like to, enable this project to go ahead. And I do have to consider my health first. So
Okay.
do you know how that happened with the water tower that?
That's a town issue. I mean, I think, it's instructive because if we are building housing there too, we would want to know when that kind of work is going on. So I can find out, what the expectations are for abutters when work is going on there.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you very much. And I hope I hope yeah, I need to know, and I need to know ASAP if I'm gonna have to move. So I would appreciate, I'm happy you'll send me the information.
Okay, Emily. I'll send it to you, and can I give you my phone number just in case you don't get it in the next day?
Hold on one second. Okay,
Okay, it's 617
yes,
947 1269.
okay. Thank you so much.
I'll send it to you today, so if you don't get it, give me a call tomorrow.
You have the right email at this point.
It's a Comcast email?
Yeah,
Okay. Yep.
okay,
All right.
thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Any other 95 Lawrence questions while we're on that part of our agenda?
Elaine, Mike identified the land lease as also still outstanding. Is that something that we have to do anything with, or how do we get the land lease?
KP Law.
Yeah.
Are we requesting it from KP Law?
Yes, I would
I
think
mean,
so, yeah.
It's one of the attachments that go, but it's a template. It's not, you can't, it's a template. So,
Right. I don't know exactly what it is, but if we need it for the issuance of the RFP, then we should figure out where.
yeah, I think we have, I think KP was looking at the template that was provided. So we'll find out.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Next on the agenda is Freeman Ave and also other land, kind of something we're talking about together, whether we can go ahead and issue an RFP for one house on our Freeman Avenue site, or if we want to try to find any other pieces of land that we could bring the request to town meeting this year. I I did contact Mark Vincent because we've had questions about the land, either the sand pit or the other land near the DPW. He's out of town till Tuesday, but he said he would call me back just to, and I basically asked him, since he's so familiar with our whole town, if he knew of any other pieces in his mind that he could envision that might hold some potential. But where else are we with the land stuff, Gary?
Sarah, are you with us?
I am. I just had to start virtual or
No, that's
real school lunch, so sorry, but I
Oh.
am here.
Oh.
And
You,
we,
You looked at that listing that we got from Nancy.
I
There.
did. I went through every single parcel.
And again, we're looking for 1 or 2 buildable lots, so we're not looking for a huge amount, but is the net that there isn't anything in town-owned land that we could pursue?
I can go back to my email. I think the net was that there were very few that looked potentially viable, very few, if any. I think one of the questions I had for the rest of you who have been doing this so much longer is, is there any possibility of pursuing anything that's within the National Seashore, or is that just automatically precluded? Because there's those large parcels on Cahoon Hollow Road, I think it is, that look fabulous. They have no neighbors. They're right on the road. There's road frontage. I think I'm remembering where they are correctly. But does the seashore make that impossible?
Yes.
Yes, I can answer
There
that
you
too.
go.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an act of Congress, Sarah.
Okay.
We own the airstrip, for example.
Yep.
Another
yep.
conversation we've been having
Yep.
for almost 20 years.
I remember
No
that.
egress to that.
Yeah.
Perfect for
Yeah.
housing.
Yeah, there's just that big square parcel on Cahoon Hollow that I think is like 8 acres with road frontage, and I was like, this is perfect. But I figured there had to be a catch. In answer to your question, I can go back to the list again, or the email that I sent, and eliminate the seashore ones and see what we're left with. My memory is there were a few very small parcels that it might be challenging to get septic and well on, but let me look again.
Okay. I had one other thought, Elaine. When you talk to Mark Vincent, remember a couple of years ago, we were looking at the Coles Neck property for a larger project. And they had various circles from the actual transfer station of EPA, DEP concern. But
Right.
wasn't there some portion that was outside of that was on one of the roads near
No,
Coles
Gary.
that is potentially buildable?
No.
You think there's no land there?
No, and the reason for that was the EPA says that you have to be X amount of feet
Yeah.
from whatever, and it wasn't going to make that setback. That was land that Helen Miranda Wilson looked at with Elaine, and both our health agent and the powers that be said, even Mark Vincent was like, no. But to get back to the parcel that's on the other side of the DPW, something has riled up the owners of that property because they've now since replaced all the fencing around it. That's been an issue for that property owner and the town, who's saying the town says they own it, and the real people that have the title to it say that they own it. So that's not doable. To get back to the sand pit area, there's a very small amount of property that abuts the sand pit. And again, you'd be dealing with, the municipal uses of that property, which are daily, with large equipment, the storage of all the marina stuff and the shellfish stuff. So I'm not sure if that's, a good housing site. It'll bring me to what my point to being here today is. I'd like the housing authority and the town of Wellfleet in general to start looking at the housing needs on a regional basis. Because you know what? At the end of the day, we're not going to find what we need in this community to either build on or create new housing on. So we need to start thinking regional. We did this with Brackett Road. We need to pony up to Cloverleaf. We need to do whatever we can to make the projects on either side of us go forward in a strong way. We have the funds, we have the ability, we have the passion to do this, but we're not going to be able to create it in our own community. That's the reality. That's the point I needed to make today.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Can
Well-
I ask one quick question of Kathleen?
Go ahead.
Yeah,
What do we say to shellfishing families who
Mm.
have to live in Wellfleet?
we'll have to relax that. It's going to have to get relaxed. We've got shellfishing families now not living in Wellfleet, and we're looking the other way. That's the truth.
That again.
I've actually been wondering if that's actually a legality to say you have to live in Wellfleet. Is there a legal precedent for that?
Well, it's in our shellfish regulations. We will have to relax the regulations. Again, we have to start thinking outside of our own town boundaries
Mhm.
to make housing for everybody on the Lower Cape. It needs to be a regional issue.
Mhm.
You guys have done an enormous amount of work crafting one house at a time, one affordable unit at a time. And we're just about, we look at the seashore, that's a no-go. We look at town land, which we did in 2017 when we found out we were going to take 9 acres of land and turn it into a town hall annex. I got every town piece of land on the table in front of the select board, and we looked at it and said, there's nothing else to build on. There's no place left to go. But we can help the Cloverleaf project. We can change that conversation and that negativity by showing them that we'll help them in any way that we can, financially, support that developer, whatever it's going to take.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think it highlights the importance of getting Lawrence Road done too, and getting it done right. I think in terms of rental, regional, it makes a lot of sense because every town has bigger options than we do in a way right now. But then in terms of ownership, I think we still kind of want to keep chipping away at the possibility for ownership too, in town, keeping keeping the tax base and things like that. But, Orleans is doing so much right now. Brewster is doing so much. They're just going great guns, acquiring property and to create housing too. So
Sarah,
I don't want to say shoulda, coulda, woulda, but I think we should have bought the Mainstay motel. I know it was a wreck and it needed an enormous amount of work, but now it's a boutique hotel that's only going to be used 6 or 7 weeks out of the year at best. If we could have bought that and created studio apartments for elderly, for young people, this is what the town of Dennis is doing in Yarmouth. They're buying one motel after another and crafting safe, affordable units.
yep.
but we can't go back. We can
No,
only go forward.
no, you can't.
Yeah.
But
Can't dial it
Sarah-
back.
Sarah, let me ask you on
Yes.
another front, because
Sure.
is there land that we could potentially buy?
I've been thinking about that myself, Gary, and I've been sort of keeping my eyes out on that same vein and thought, meaning if there are things out there, I could bring them to you. We're marketing a whole subdivision of 8 brand new lots over off Old Kings Highway. And I've thought so many times, what if we had been able to approach the family before that? You know what I mean?
We did
And-
approach, We did approach them.
Oh, of course you did. You guys do everything.
The answer was pretty firm no,
Yeah,
but
darn it. All right. Well, there you go. It's right across from our other housing. So I think
Yeah.
about it every time I go over there. So the answer to your question is yes, I have my eyes out for things like that for us. And I also, if any of the old, I mean, there are so many multifamilies around town, like old pre-existing. And if any of those come up, I think we should be looking at those as well. But I think the problem, which was, I think also one of the challenges with the mainstay, is that we have to be able to move nimbly, and that, you know what I mean, to be able to purchase things when they come up. And I don't know how we can, you know what I mean? There's so many different factors.
well, I think some good news is coming in the form of the housing trust that we're setting up
Mhm.
has the ability to buy land.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
And it's the town, not the housing authority doing it, so it's a little quicker. And the
Okay.
third component is that we have requested funding, so they may have some money available to do that and do it relatively quickly. But again, that's
Well,
down.
so maybe, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's just down the road, but it's
Yeah.
months, not years away.
So maybe what we should be doing, and I could do this fairly easily, but maybe what we should be doing is looking for large parcels of undeveloped land that are privately owned
Yeah,
and not on the market, so that we, so it's not the time pressure, but it would be fairly easy to, I think, send a letter to any vacant, and there aren't that many, but larger vacant parcels in town, and ask whether they would have interest in engaging with us.
Good idea.
we actually talked about, the tax bill finally just went out, but there'll
Yeah.
be a spring tax bill, and maybe we'll
Yeah.
do some kind of an insert there and see if
Mhm.
there's, anybody else that has some land that would be interested.
Right.
Can I just interject?
Sure.
I feel like, now, and I've said this before, I think like the Conservation Commission, for example, they've done a really good job of kind of encouraging people to donate land to them.
Yep.
Mhm.
And, I think maybe we could get on that bandwagon a little bit.
That's smart.
I think the question, I agree, Sharon, then what's the best way to accomplish that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Through the tax bill.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe we'll have an insert in the spring one, but beyond that, if word of mouth has any value, I mean, if you hear of anything.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean,
The other thing I was going to say about the clover leaf and the other things, Kathleen, is that they're all rental. So it's really not viable for shellfishing folks because of all the equipment that they have.
Mm.
And so I don't know that there's a good solution for it other than via some kind of affordable home ownership.
There's no one size fits all.
No, exactly right. We have to pursue many strategies.
That is one of the good things potentially about AADUs, because they are often on properties where there's a little more land, and if there's a friendly landlord, that makes it an opportunity for a shell fisherman or woman to live there with their gear. I know that that's happened before.
I agree.
I think it would be also good, and maybe, I think and I'm just sort of thinking out loud or a little out of the box, but I think one of the things that might be helpful would be if we could do some education about the process of home ownership, not necessarily for, well, I suppose, well, maybe I could do it. I don't know. But I feel like when things come up on the market that are affordable in town, like small houses, there's a house that came up that was $325,000, and it hasn't even closed yet, so it's only a couple months ago, and we ended up having it on the market for $345,000, I believe. But I brought a number of people there that immediately were year round, and people that I just was so hoping would buy it, and that I think would have qualified. But I think the process of home ownership is so daunting that somehow people stay renting. You know what I mean? And these are people that live in town, and I don't know. So I just feel like occasionally things come up and I'm just so hopeful that somebody that's within our community will purchase. But again, it's that thing of, you have to move so quickly. And I feel like when you're not ready, you know what I mean? So I don't know.
You
Well,
should make a 10-minute video, Sarah. You should make a little video, really.
Yeah,
I
record
should,
it.
I should, or
And
have a
we
little
can run it
virtual
on-
meeting or something like that, because I feel like it's not as scary as it seems, you know what I mean? And it just would, I hate seeing those things just go, you know what I mean? Just,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
I think you would be a really good person because you're so lovely and personable and articulate. You should make a little 10-minute, 15-minute tutorial video, and we can run it on the cable access channel, and I can give it to Lower Cape TV and they can run it. And you could really reach a lot of people. No, it would be
I'm so
great.
secretly shy, but I'll try
would
it
be
for you,
great.
Mia.
I think you'd be perfect. And I think it would be really beneficial to have a quick,
You're laughing at me, Sharon.
have a quick video.
yeah, I mean, I think that would be great, Sarah.
I
I
think
mean,
so
you know,
too.
the CDP does the first time homebuyers course, but that's
Well,
kind
Yeah,
of, that's intensive and you have to pay for it. It's important, and most banks
Right.
now want first time homebuyers to have it, but this would be kind of like the you know, the quick overview.
quick version, yeah.
And especially
Yeah.
coupled that we have a buy down program, you know, and
Elaine,
Okay,
that'd be
I'll
great.
try, I'll try my hand at it.
Okay,
Elaine, you remember that we used to give scholarships to attend the first time home buyers course? Maybe we should revisit that and promote that idea, and it'll at least get people in the process of home buying. or in
I
the-
think so, because the way mortgage rates are now, people could be paying less than they are in rent. And I know there's nothing on the market. I pulled it up. There's 16 houses on the market in all of Wellfleet. Okay. But I can probably name 8 or 10 that sold in a decent range, meaning 3 to 4 in the past 6 months or something, So if those were all going to year-round people, wouldn't that be fabulous?
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that would be great. It's like a ready to buy program,
Yeah,
get yourself ready
yeah.
to buy. And you would be a wonderful spokesperson for that.
Speak too soon, but I'll try.
Excellent. Yay. Yay.
Could we just, Elaine, could we just, I just wrote it down, but we could talk to CDP, but could we not just start that scholarship program again? That doesn't take a lot of money.
Right. Yeah.
And that's something we could have Sarah promote in her little video. And it would be, it's a nice next step.
Yeah. It's all, yeah. Of course, it's all online right now.
That's fine. That's better for many people.
Just makes it more accessible.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. I mean, I think we can legally do that with either some of our town money or, plus money that came in through donations and stuff like that.
I
Or
think, right.
the CDBG money that's getting
Yeah.
put into our trust. Yeah, that'd be great. Sarah, maybe they could even embed it like in the Provincetown Independent too.
Oh, they would probably love to do that, actually.
Yeah.
Gary,
Yeah.
Gary, how much do you want? In other words, how
Yes.
much is the cost of sending somebody?
I'm not sure I'm gonna say, I think it's around $400, but what I was gonna say, Richard, is that, I'm sorry, Elaine,
I think it's more like 100.
100? Is
I
that
think
all?
Yeah.
Oh, then why
Oh,
don't
you can't
we,
charge people
Why don't you make a
$400.
motion, Gary? Can you make a
Right.
motion
to,
to,
to invest $1,000
Yes.
in scholarships for first-time home buyers, and we'll work with CDP to figure out the best way to do it?
second the motion?
Excellent.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Hi.
All right.
Yay, Gary.
Well, I think you guys got to produce the upfront video so we can,
Sarah's gonna be great.
It'd be great. Yeah.
Gary, I'm going to use the word allocate, okay?
allocate. Very good.
excellent end to the meeting.
Ah, are we done?
Kathleen, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for all you're doing. You know, we're not gonna solve this problem, but, you know, we'll keep chipping away at it.
Yep.
Bye,
Okay,
guys.
okay, our next meeting is in 2021.
Oh,
Take care.
happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah, everybody take care,
Oh,
safe.
yes,
and
happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Sarah,
Stay healthy.
Sarah and
Bye.
Gary, could you guys stay for 1 second?
Sure.
Sure.
I think there is a piece of land of a number of acres back behind, like Brownie's cabins up there. Is it
Oh, yes.
Aaron's Way?
Yeah.
That I think a brother and sister own,
Hmm.
who live, I think, in New York State, that's been sitting there for a long time.
Does it have frontage, Richard?
Yeah, I feel like there's a landlocked parcel back there, but let me
Yeah.
see if there's one with,
Well, have a look.
I'll have at it. I'll have at it right now and
Just
email
watch
you
out.
guys.
And
The
I would,
neighbors up there are pretty fierce.
yeah,
Well, okay,
Uh,
well played, assessors.
but Sharon mentioned one of the things about the Conservation Trust and the lands that
Mhm.
they get is there's the whole conservation agenda.
Mm.
That is certainly not a development agenda. So,
Well,
people-
yes, and people
are
often
giving
give
out
to
land,
conservation property that abuts their own,
yeah, and they're giving
and
out.
they don't want to give affordable housing property that abuts their own always.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's true.
But maybe that would be, I mean, it would be so fabulous to do a joint project where land was set aside for conservation, but also.
We've
Have
had
some-
conversations with
You-
them about
You
that.
mean like Payne Hollow?
Oh, wait, Sharon, we did inquire about the status of Payne Hollow.
Yeah,
Did get an update from Ted that says they're actually moving along with the abutters. I don't know exactly what that means, but
fantastic.
they are, it isn't a dead issue, I guess.
But isn't that an example of where we're trying to do development and conservation at the same time?
Yes, I
Mhm.
think so.
Yeah, except I mean, actually working with the conservation so that
Yeah,
monies for a property could come, from them too. I mean, yeah, we voted to set aside, 3 acres of that 5+ acre parcel for conservation.
mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, Elaine, I'll get in touch and we'll set up a time we can talk about that bylaw.
Okay, great.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye all.